presented by the Southern California Education Committee for the SCPGA. Thank you very much for joining us. We know your schedule is super busy, and we are grateful that you've taken the time to be on with us this morning.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Anything you'd like to say before we dive into the questions?
No, hi, Nikki. Hi, Tom. Hi, Southern Cal. Thanks for bearing with us through our issues. You think by now during COVID, we'd have this down pat, right?
Certainly. Okay, Suzy, our industry end game has seen an increase in interest and participation like never before. This is great news for all, but how will we best prepare our new normal access to the golf course, in particular with regards to youth programming, high school, college team access, etc.?
Yeah, I'm sure like everyone there, and I'm in Florida, for those of you that aren't aware. So we're in our full season. I just came off a lesson to you this morning to chat with you. Excitingly, with all due respect to anybody that suffered from COVID or whose families have suffered from COVID, or you yourself, golf in Florida is on an incredible uptick. And we are churning out, we're packed, our lesson books are full, the golf course is full. The only tee time you can get, I'm at a private facility with 2 golf courses. The first tee time availability is 4:30 in the afternoon. And it's a lottery to even get a tee time, and that's under a no guest policy due to COVID. So the club is doing really well, but I think to your point, we do have to, as PGA professionals, navigate the future of clubs, facilities, public facilities, and courses. And while, of course, we all want golf to remain in this incredible bubble and uptick, and we want to retain all those that have joined us by making these experiences great, which is what PGA professionals do best, we also have to consider what's going to happen when we go back to a norm. So right now, there's so much play here at the club where I am. It's still single ride car usage. Our average pace of play for 18 holes has gone from 4 hours and 22 minutes to 3 hours and 18 minutes. People now are used to playing very fast. They want their single rider car. And to be honest, from my seat as a director of instruction, it concerns me because the newer players that have come into the game can't keep pace. They can't keep up for 3 hours and 18 minutes. And I think we really have to think about that as we place novice players out on the course in this current environment, because the experience they're receiving out there is not one that is welcoming. It's one that's being pushed. It's one that's showcasing the fact that they're new. They're not sure how to keep pace. So we've transferred our coaching programming, some of it at least, into etiquette training, speed of play training, how to navigate keeping score quickly, things that all of us do every day and take for granted. I think we just have to have a heightened awareness of what's happening in this marketplace and how we as PGA professionals can ensure we retain those players that are new. So I'm not sure if that answered your question, but I can tell you, while we have these wonderful upticks and are so optimistic about the game, we are going to have our challenges in front of us to continue this beyond just the players, but even the course itself and the impact on the turf.
The impact on the turf, indeed. How do you see your role in the PGA changing and evolving going forward as, coming off the presidency, you're in your honorary presidency right now, and your career at your club?
Yeah, well, I have a lot more time to teach. And that's been great. Honorary president, for those that aren't aware, we eliminated the honorary president seat on the board of directors a couple years ago, and that was intentional. We chose to pick across members. This was the fact could really impact somebody in their life. So for example, maybe you have a brand new job, or you've just started a family, or you're caring for elderly parents, whatever it might be, that time period of when they come up in your day, not work for a person who's looking to leadership opportunities. And we also were keenly aware that our board was not diverse. And we felt this was an opportunity for us to also have a chance to pick somebody from a diverse background to be a part of that board. So as an honorary president was no longer in the boardroom. I still obviously keep in close perspective, and certainly that and trying to accomplish years even longer. I've been in the boardroom since 2010 and 14. Really, the business that strategically in advance. So, I'm still closely attuned to it. It's the first year I've never been on a national committee since 2003. So that's hard because, I love being a part of that. I think my favorite part of leadership is the people I get to meet and the people that inspire me to do more, to do better, the people that are smarter in the room than I could ever imagine being, who helped me grow in my career and in my leadership. And I miss that. I miss that as honorary president. But I would tell anybody listening, if you're thinking about getting involved in governance, even if it's just at the local level or a chapter level, it is so worth your time. It is the most amazing experience I had in my career, is to be a part of that, inclusive of my very first committee experiences at the section level. It really helped me grow in so many ways, and I would never change a thing about it.
Fantastic. Well, you record there when you talk about diversity on the service level, particularly here in the SoCal section. We of our 17 board members on the section board, 4 of which are women, one of which is Asian American female, and we also have a Korean American male board member as well. So diversity, its importance cannot be understressed.
Yeah, I think when we talk about it, we have to be sure we're talking about it in I always wanted to be considered a PGA professional. I always thought it's pretty obvious that I'm a female, right? To say I'm a female PGA professional. And I don't want to speak for other people, but I think generally speaking, we want our body of work to stand for who we are and what we do and our authenticity. I think the reason why diversity is important in a room is not because every PGA professional isn't capable of contributing. It's because when you grow up in a different place or a different culture, you come at ideas and vision with a very different perspective. And I think oftentimes that dimension of diversity, it always elevates the entire group. It always elevates the core. And there's times where you may agree, you may not agree. But what came out in the end, at least in my experience as a leader within the association, is even if there was a conversation that it didn't go the way I wanted it to or had hoped it would, the end result was always better because of that diverse perspective. And sometimes I think we as PGA professionals get labeled as being not diverse, and I don't think that's fair either. I think as you look in a room, it perhaps doesn't look diverse, but there's so many differences in diversity. I mean, somebody that grew up in Iowa versus me in Syracuse, New York, right there is a difference in how we grew up. And if there's 2 females we were talking about, of course we're going to be different, even though our gender is the same. The reason you want more room is to bring greater thought to the perspective, because the brand, the professional, the member, the game will be better because of it.
What do you feel is the best means to retain golfers in the future, especially with the increased number of players in the past 9-10 months? How are we going to keep them?
I mean, again, I think COVID has given us, sounds terrible, golf a gift. And I mean that in all due respect to people that are ill. But the gift that it's given us is it's given us an opportunity to the game. And I can only share with you my perspective and my opinion on it. But what I see in those that I teach is the outcome important, but it isn't the priority is getting some health and wellness outside. The priority is having something to do with friends that they haven't seen in a very long time in a socially responsible way. The priority is not necessarily shooting their best score, which of course everybody wants to do every time they play, but it just seems a little more fun for people, a little more lighthearted for people, a little less importance on the skill being perfect versus, hey, you know, I had a 92 today, wasn't my best day, but you know what, I'm going to come out tomorrow and I can't wait. What I've seen is it's given people a new attitude about the game, a new mindset about the game. And we as PGA professionals should feel great about that because we are the ones delivering that experience that's allowing them to do unbelievable. I don't think any of us could have been prepared for that. How do we keep that? I think it's lessons learned. I think it's understanding that this is the customer who already do it in an amazing way where every day we're longer hours than ever, more time. But I don't know if I look at it as I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful to be working at it. And I'm really grateful that people that I'm with are coming with joy to the facility, and it gives me energy. And I always think when we come out, our attitudes and our energy and our commitment, it makes the experience. And so my job feels more fun, and the people that I'm with feel like they're having more joy because of golf. And I think that, and really look at the game a little differently, making sure we're taking that whole person versus just, oh gosh, I've got to get them 8-stroke better by next week or by 2 weeks, or they need to win the club championship. All of that being important, but just prioritizing. I think people have more with their family, had more time to reflect this downtime. They're kind of looking for things where they're going to prioritize and to be here. I want to be at the golf course on my team, and so we're trying to keep that connection. Seeing them in a week, we reach okay, make sure we offer them an opportunity to come back and see us. So I think communication has been heightened, but also that personal connection between everybody at this facility and our team is stronger than ever.
Thank you, Suzy. In the Southern California section of the PGA and the Southern California Golf Association, in our programs, the percentage ratio of male to female boys and girls is about 37% female. That number is slightly higher than the average. With most of us, a lot of us on this webcast this morning being teachers, how do you feel the teaching strategy should, if it should, be changed from or modified from male to female to help bolster female interest in the game and long-term growth?
Well, those of you on the call are already doing a great job. If you're at 37%, good for you. Of course, I'm sure you're like I am, and you'd like it to be 50. Me, I want it to be 51. So, I mean, that's just, where I sit and where I come from, but great. And your programming must be tremendous. But we're in this incredible upsurge of juniors in the game. I think over 600,000 in 2020. They're new to the game. And that's exciting. It's exciting for all of us. How I teach junior golf is pretty across the board the same. I teach it in stations. I teach it with tons of mobility. I teach functional movement skills. I use PGA.coach. I use ADM as the basis for everything we do from a young age on. I use Birdie Basics, which is Kate Tempesta's program for younger children, which is an incredible movement program for kids under the age of 5. And so for us, it's all about developing the whole child. To me, it doesn't matter whether they're a boy or a girl. I want to develop them in a way that they have golf for the rest of their lives. And then there comes a certain point where some children may choose another sport as their first love, but I don't want golf to go out the door. So we have tracks and options for those children to make sure that they still have programming available to them. What I do that perhaps might be a little different if I have just a group of young ladies versus a group of young boys, is I talk a lot to the young girls about confidence. I talk a lot about being brave and strong. I talk a lot about the mental side of the game, about how to approach things. And then I talk to the girls about taking risk. And this isn't because I'm a behavioral scientist. It's not because, it's just because I've been teaching a long time. And so those are some of the things I think, generally speaking, please, I realize this isn't for all young girls, but generally speaking, those are the areas that I see girls they're a little fearful. They're a little, they sit back, watch more. They want to make sure they're not making a mistake. They want the rule. They want to make sure they're following the rules. And at a young age, I find that the boys are stronger risk takers, and they're not worried. Again, a huge generalization, but most aren't worried about missing or failing in front of others until they get to a certain age. So I think you have to be very careful in your developmental growth of your children, of what stage they're at, especially during puberty, and where they're emotionally during that time. And are they withdrawing, or are they really there and present with you? So I'm very keenly aware of each child and how they come to the day. And I really try to address it in the moment and use golf to help them get through it. And I found that it's really elevated both the boys and the girls in their skill level, which is not even about technique. It's really more about striving. You may not have it yet, but we're going to get there, and we're going to get there together. So I don't teach girls and boys differently. I may talk to them a little bit differently, but when it comes to functional movement skills is functional movement skills. And I push the girls just as hard as I push the boys.
2020 should have been an amazing year for you as the first female PGA national president. COVID-19 hit, everything changed. In the stress and decisions that have been made, it must have been exhausting. Through all of this, what was the bright light and or best positive experience that you had during your presidency?
I think we're all exhausted after 2020. I don't think it mattered the title that you held. We have an unbelievable staff at headquarters who just, they just work tirelessly. It was a 7-day week. And I think for all of you on the call, this, what COVID did was it just didn't separate the days. You woke up on calls, you went to sleep on calls, and the next day just started the same way. So there was no Monday, Sunday, Saturday. And I think as golf professionals, we're used to that. But we're not used to the 24/7. And I think that's what everybody had to get used to, is how to make time for your family, how to prioritize better so that you were actually strong in whatever it was you were trying to commit to in the moment you were in it. And that really was a test. It was a test in mental fortitude. It was a test in critical thinking. It was a test in calmness in a time of incredible stress for so many of our professionals who were struggling, who were out of work, who there was an unbelievable unknown for their family. And that weighed heavily on me and on others that were leading our industry, because we wanted to get people back to work as quickly as we possibly could. We all do the same thing as you do that are listening. We are all golf professionals. My family's entrenched in it. My husband is a golf professional as well. And it was keenly important to me right when this happened that the number one concern we needed to have was our members. And how are we going to help? And so we knew immediately we had to get people back on golf courses. And so our first priority was in Washington, was legislation, was convincing legislators that golf could be socially safe. And that was an incredible undertaking that staff and those of us in leadership, including your leadership there in Southern Cal, were taking on day in and day out. Tom and Craig Kessler, who are doing such an amazing job helping us keep up to date on state by state, city by city, county by county legislation. That in itself was exhausting, but so worth it, because we had golf back on the rails as quickly as we could. We realized not everywhere as fast as we wish we had. And we realized there's still some places still struggling, and we don't overlook that. But That was first and foremost. Secondarily was trying to get that golf emergency relief fund immediately undertaken. And we were working very hard on a deferred comp plan for our members. We had that in front of the IRS, but that needed to be put on hold immediately so that those that were suffering in the moment in this time at 2020 were given immediate help and immediate aid. And so really proud of getting that on its feet. And then certainly just the overwhelming amount of communication that you received from members in this time, what was going to happen to dues, some of the decisions we were making, why were we making them? And, you really heard real strife in many of these emails, and picking up the phone and calling people was really the best avenue for success, just to hear their frustrations, to understand where they were coming from, and to realize these people are real people. We have 29,000 real humans that are our members, and each of whom was struggling with COVID in a very different way, whether it was a family member or a parent or a sibling or a friend or someone in their workplace. And so it was definitely challenging, but it was probably one of the most significant leadership growth opportunities all of us had, to ensure that people came first, and our brand vitally important, obviously, but that had to come second, which we feel like we did a really good job there as well. Our brand is seen now in a space that has been incredibly successful during a very challenging time, and golf is on an uptick. And I think what I'm most proud of last year is our PGA professionals. None of this could have happened without many of whom going to work, perhaps even not getting paid, making sure they were there 24/7 when their staff couldn't be, working tireless hours to ensure their community had a safe place to have a healthy outlet. I'm convinced that we're the only association in the world that can deliver on that prospect, and that's because of the people who are members of it. And so to lead a group of PGA professionals who going above and beyond is not enough. I don't know how to say it stronger than that. But that's what all of you listening did. And it created golf to be seen as this really amazing sport that took it on, challenged it, delivered sports on national television, but also gave people in a community some health and wellness and joy. And I think all of us should be really proud of that.
Certainly. Well, I wholeheartedly concur with you regarding the efforts of Craig Kessler and Tom Addis through all of this, and keeping the section up to date with the ever-changing fluid environment that we're in, and also to concur with you regarding our section staff. You were talking about national staff. Our section staff and their efforts for the first time in section history, they were sectionally recognized this past year for their efforts as a team, and it can't be understressed. Do you think the PGA is doing enough to advance the brand?
Yeah, I do. I think, right now we have, and you've heard us say it before, and I'm saying us loosely now. As I mentioned, I'm not in the boardroom, but certainly close to it. We've worked really hard at collaborating with the allies. And what I mean by that is the key stakeholders in the industry, because a unified message of elevating golf is something that we believe in wholeheartedly. So when I speak of the stakeholders, the PGA Tour, the LPGA Tour, the USGA, the RNA, the LET, the European Tour, PGA Australia, PGA Canada, multiple organizations that all of whom are looking to grow the game alongside us. And we have our foot in pretty much everything golf, right? Some of those other entities are in their own lane. So the PGA Tour, obviously championship golf, the USGA, the rules golf. We're in it all. We're in championship golf. Every one of our PGA professionals is in the rules of golf every single day. We're growing the game every single day. And right now we are at the highest level we've ever been as far as a partnership perspective is concerned when we survey our partners of brand stability, of brand awareness, of the difference between the PGA of America and the PGA Tour, Certainly, we still get confused by some people in that respect, but we are working really hard to ensure that we're promoting PGA professionals for the first time, not only on our PSAs, as you saw during our championships in our Journeys campaign, but also the social media where you're from perhaps or about it. And the intent there is to elevate our brand, because our brand is you. Our brand is the PGA professional. And, you know, yes, we have these unbelievable championships that we're blessed to have, which fund everything we're capable of doing within the association. But it's the PGA professional on the ground each and every day who's making the vital difference that's elevating our brand. And when you say, do you think we're doing enough? I'm one that always thinks we can do more. But I think we have taken intentional steps to really elevate how our members perceived, including in the employment space, which now even our employment search service has escalated to the point of placing numerous jobs, whereas before it was a little slow to do that. So that still has work to do, but we're excited about that. And certainly in our PGA Foundation space, we just started our charitable campaign where we're raising funds for everything in the foundation. I've taken on the honorary chair role of that. So excited about that. And that in itself will elevate our brand as we go out into the world and start to really speak to everything we're doing in our foundation space too.
Speaking of doing everything that we can, this question comes in from our section secretary, Allison Kurt. What can women do to better position themselves in upper management or upper leadership roles in our industry?
Yeah, hi, Allison. Great to hear from you, and congratulations. Probably everybody already knows this, but Allison is in governance already with the LPGA as well. So now she's a dual governance holder, which is terrific, and what a welcome addition. So Allison, I think as we go, and you and I have had this conversation before, but I think what's vitally important is the reason I had the opportunity to do some of the things I did is because of the mentorship I had along the way. And I had male and female mentors along the way. But in the PGA of America, mostly male mentors who really helped me get a seat at the table, who respected my body of work, who sponsored me. And so you always hear people say, you need a mentor. I also think you need sponsors. And I think there's a direct difference between the two. I think for any professional, male or female, you always want to seek out a mentor, a truth teller, somebody who's going to help you navigate some of the challenges along your career path, kind of help you know you have a vision. Maybe you didn't even have the vision, but they place a vision in your head that, hey, have you ever thought about doing this? And you had never thought about it, but all of a sudden you're thinking, well, maybe I should consider that. And so I have trusted mentors that I rely on literally on a weekly basis to review things that I'm trying to accomplish, or a growth plan, or things that I should be attending or reading that would be helpful for my goals. But you also need sponsors. And I think that's where oftentimes people who want to elevate and promote, they miss out on. And a sponsor is somebody who actually talks about you to others, who respects your body of work and shares it with others, who is willing to go into a group and say, well, why haven't we considered him, or why haven't we considered her for this role? Without looking at perhaps what that person is missing, but instead looking at perhaps what that person can offer a room that currently doesn't have that. So I think for women, to answer your question specifically, Allison, but I think it's for both. I think for women to start elevating and have the opportunity to be in higher level positions and higher level management positions, number one, we need men advocating for us in this business. We need to get the jobs. And currently, most of the people who are hiring for those positions are men. And until we have the opportunity as women in this business to carry a HP job, a director of golf job, an assistant general manager job or a general manager job. We need somebody to give these women a chance to do it when the resume obviously has the level it needs to be successful at it. Until that happens, we will still struggle for those higher level roles. I think secondarily, women need to apply. I think oftentimes, and I'll say young men and women, but oftentimes young women think that they have to have all 10 items of the job description before they can even raise their hand to be in that role. And I'm here to tell you that typically when we've done studies on this, most of the men will apply with less than 5. And most of the women won't apply unless they have 9 or 10. So women need to take a step out of their comfort zone. They need to realize that they can find somebody to help them learn what it is they don't yet have. They can find support to help them elevate and be successful in that role, but they have to be brave enough to put that application in the mail or in the email or pick up the phone and call. But I will say this is a huge shout out for those of you on the call that are in hiring positions. Women do absolutely and can commit to higher level roles in this industry, but they have to be given a chance to do so.
You know, you touched on two very eye-opening, you made two very eye-opening statements that will probably end up being quiz questions on this catalyst. Suzy, as you may or may not know, we record these interviews and webcasts, and we put them on the SCPGA landing page. PGA members, even after the fact, after the live webcast presentation, can go and view the catalyst and take the quiz on it after and get their MSR point, and even members from other sections as well. And there's a great many that do that. And I could see that the difference between a mentor and a sponsor and the ratio of qualifiables that men and women use to determine whether or not they're going to apply for a position. I can see those being quiz questions today for sure. I'm sure you're very much still involved with this. Could you tell us what's going on with Frisco?
Yeah, sure. So Frisco, if anybody on the call is not aware, is where our new headquarters is going to be. 2022 is the estimated projected date. Construction has started on corporate headquarters. The golf courses are nearly complete. I know that Jim Richardson and John Linder and Don Ray just took a trip out there. I was not a part of that trip, but they were overwhelmingly excited about the golf course design. Gil Hans designing one of the golf courses, and then Bo Welling designing the other course. I have seen pictures of it. I was out there about a third way through the construction, and it's a pretty incredible spot. What's really exciting about it is it's a public property. It'll be 36 holes plus a 9-hole short course, an unbelievable range facility, a retail space that's surrounding that facility, and let's hope COVID allows us to gather again in those types of spaces in a fun and exciting way. And then our education center, of course, which I think everybody on the phone will be really excited to be a part of and see. With state-of-the-art technology, opportunities for our next generation member to really elevate their opportunities within the game, whether it be in club fitting or coaching or golf operations or executive management. Our certification and specialization programs, you'll be able to do even more than ever now in Frisco. So we're certainly excited to see it done and completed. Corporate headquarters, as you're aware, with COVID, many of our staff is still working from home. I don't know the exact numbers, so don't quote me. I think we're about 75% of staff now is in Frisco, but I could be off on that. So please excuse me if I am, but about 75% are based there, but still not going into a corporate suite yet, obviously based on COVID. But many have seen the plans digitally and virtually and are excited to get back to an office space. We are renovating here in Palm Beach Gardens, and with plans to lease the current facility that we own here in Palm Beach Gardens once it's completed and renovated, but the rest of the staff that remains in Palm Beach Gardens will be a part of that building until they migrate over to Frisco. So it's really been tricky during COVID. Our partner is Omni, and as you're all clearly aware, the hotel industry and tourism industry has been, impacted in a way that nobody could ever imagine. Omni's been an amazing partner and have continued their partnership with us through these really hard times on the hotel industry. We've just pushed their start of construction of the hotel date back a year, just to give Omni some time to get back on their feet as COVID, we hope, and as the vaccinations roll out across the United States, where people just feel more safe to travel and be a part of that. So right now, education is still digital, as probably everybody on the call is aware. We're trying to keep everybody as safe as possible, and as soon as we can, we'll roll it back to an in-person, which I'm sure everybody's excited to get back to.
Speaking of the topic of associateship, as you're aware, the level 1 completion percentage rate versus associates that enroll is fairly poor in relation to level 2 and level 3. Here in the SoCal section, we're ramping up the second edition of what we call the Launchpad, which is a weekly educational platform where recent PGA members, newly elected to membership, take associates through an online webinar of completing the work experience kits and addressing each level, each workbook of level 1 week by week, piece by piece, and really giving it a classroom element to it to help bolster and support level 1 completion percentage increases. Where do you feel the PGA is lacking there, and where are the opportunities where we can help support a better level 1 completion percentage?
Well, good for you, and that's an unbelievable experience, I'm sure, for those that have the opportunity to participate in it on both sides. I'm a big advocate of level 1 at the online level. I don't have the data in front of me, but our online completion rate now is far higher on a digital basis than it was on an in-person basis, inclusive of a pass rate. And some of that I would attribute to the fact that you can watch the webinars over, that you can see the information in a way that you can stop it and really learn from it. Whereas in a classroom setting, it's very difficult to do that. If you were distracted or you lost your focus for a few minutes, you might have missed something. So what you're doing to supplement is tremendous, because it's giving people a chance to process the information in a way that typically the generation that now is coming through our programming is used to processing things. And so I'm excited about what the PGA of America has accomplished in a very short time. We were ahead of the curve, thankfully, for level 1 and 2 going digital. We were not ahead of the curve for level 3. All 3 now are completed digitally. And I see a time, and I don't know that this will ever be passed by the board, but I do see a time where we would allow a hybrid of both, where some people who prefer to learn in a digital way, certainly not missing any of the courses or the structure of that, would be capable of doing it. And then, I'm so sorry, somebody's knocking at my door. Just one second. I'm on a webinar, sorry, Rod. Okay, sorry, that was my boss, sorry. I had to answer the door. Anyway, so, I think that I hope that the board continues to toss this around in a way that makes it navigable for any PGA professional to do it in less time, that's less costly, but with a very high standard attached to it. And as we watch universities across the country deliver their content digitally, as we watch graduation rates increase, as we watch our PGA professional associates, and we see the surveys and we see the amount of high satisfaction that's happening now in how we're delivering the programming, I sure hope that minds stay open to the opportunity that everything doesn't have to be done the way it used to be done to produce amazing content, and to allow PGA professionals to utilize that content in a way that makes them love their career.
Indeed, indeed. Personal questions, more along the personal line. Was there ever a time in your career where you felt like you had plateaued? And if so, what were the steps that you took, or what was the event that took place that allowed you to break out again?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm laughing because my career is like a roller coaster. I've had a lot of highs and some lows, like I think most of us probably have had. I could tell you that my very lowest of lows was when I was playing on the LPGA Tour right out of college and made $2,500, made 3 cuts, and got fired. I call it got fired, but I lost my card and thought that was the end of my world. I think there's oftentimes in your career lapses, times where you question direction. So I've been a head golf professional. I should start from the beginning. I worked at a golf school. I went from teaching at a golf school to working as an assistant professional, then to working as an assistant teaching professional, then to working as a head golf professional, to working as starting my own business, and then being an ESPN commentator for golf, and running a whole academy under my own name. I've been so all over the map in my career, that I can tell you that there's oftentimes I felt like I plateaued. But what I also am very fortunate in the fact that I grew up in a household with a mom that was a professor and put a high level prioritization on learning. And so every time I felt stalled or was questioning what I had chosen to do, I just started to study. I started to reach out and take classes and things I didn't even know I had an interest in until I took that class. I started to study leadership. I started to study business, and I dove into studying business and found that I had a great affinity and love for it. I sought out experts in areas that I knew nothing about, like behavioral science, biomechanics, things that I have been doing. I've been teaching my whole life, out of school and after the tour, but didn't really understand the correlation of biomechanics to the golf swing, which has changed my whole perception of a lot of things that I used to teach. So that was exciting to me to really dive into that and learn something new. And I certainly don't consider myself an expert in that, but I love learning it. And that's always helped me through any plateau, through any time of stress. I find the more stress I'm under, the more I consume. I don't mean, thankfully, not food wise, but well, COVID aside. I just am a voracious reader, but it makes me relax. So for me, the only thing I can share is, if you're feeling a little stagnant, which I don't blame you right now, because right now you may feel like you're on a hamster wheel. Every day seems the same. Like it's just frenetic. This pace is crazy frenetic. And every day you're doing the same thing over and over. And you might be questioning, gosh, is this it? Is this what it's meant to be for the next 30 years? I think that's a normal reaction to what's happened in the last year. I just try to take a step back and go for a run and have a and be able to kind of reflect and think, what do I want next? And maybe you're happy where you are, right where you're doing, and good for you, and enjoy that. And if you're not, stay where you are, but find something that makes you excited. Find something that challenges you. Find something you have no knowledge of, that you might actually love. And if you don't love it right out of the gate, just find something else. But sorry, a long-winded answer, but it's kind of how I navigate the world, and it's always given me joy to do that. So that's how I've done it.
Well spoken, Suzy. Well spoken. Proudest moment as a PGA member and most embarrassing? That's our final question.
Okay, can we do the most embarrassing one first?
Sure, absolutely.
Well, there are many, but look, I don't think you could be in leadership without embarrassing yourselves a couple of times. And I think what I would tell you is this: if you have an opportunity to do something in front of a lot of people, or be a leader, or even if it's just at your club, and you do something that's incredibly embarrassing, I'd say this to my children too: like, just use humor, because I think it's pretty natural as a human being to embarrass somebody at some point, including yourself, during your lifetime. I just always say, don't do something that hurts other people in that embarrassment. And so, yeah, I've had many embarrassing moments, not just one. Probably, and probably thinking about the most embarrassing was I was asked to be a keynote at the KPMG Women's Leadership Summit. For those of you that KPMG Women's PGA Championship is one of our championships at the PGA of America. They're all of you incredibly proud of them. And as a part of women's leaderships, excitingly, with KPMG and at the winners start at 22. There are now that near the KPMG Women's PGA Summit. So that's pretty cool in itself. But to be asked to speak at it, of course, is an incredible honor. And other keynotes at that point in time were Lynn Dowdy, Condoleezza Rice. So you can imagine it's kind of like teeing it up in a major on the first tee. And while I've done numerous keynotes in my lifetime, this one meant a lot to me because the KPMG Women's PGA Championship means a lot to me. It's something I had worked on since 2011. Have the PGA Women's Championship and try to stay happy, which is what. So sure I delivered messaging. They were streamed around the world, and there were probably 400 executives in the room. We were seated on really low chairs, and I'd had my legs crossed the entire time. And I don't know if this has happened to any of you, but maybe the women on the call could understand it. I didn't realize one of my legs had fallen completely asleep. So when I stood up to exit stage left, I completely face planted. And I can tell you, the only thing I could say when I stood up was, I swear I'm an athlete, right? Because after this incredible moment at this iconic venue amongst the best female athletes in the world in golf, I tripped on stage. So that was awful. And unless you had been there, maybe you can't really understand how awful it was, but it was horrible. Then, okay, so let's just move on from there to my most proud moment. Please don't Google it. Don't look it up. Don't try to find the videotape of me falling, please. And so my proudest moment as a PGA professional, honestly, was what I said earlier. Not only just how proud I am of our PGA professionals and what they've accomplished in a year of great strife, but I think, there's just too many to be able to list one. So I'm just gonna say one of my proudest moments would be when we actually pulled off the PGA Championship at TPC Harding Park. And I say that because the amount of effort that went into staging that championship at a time in this country that no one else had seen. We were the first sporting event since the Super Bowl to be televised on a national level since COVID started. The immense responsibility on our brand, on our membership, but on golf in general. We believed it was our responsibility to showcase that golf could be presented safely and responsibly. At the same time, you've got to look at the risk of what that entails. And had we not, where would we be with golf right now and today, with the world all eyes on, watching and looking for us to make a mistake? So to pull off that championship in the way that we did, alongside of your section and Northern Cal, and the support that we had within California, because of your members and, you know, what we had to jump hoops through with Governor Newsom and the city of San Francisco itself, just inclusive of even the unions and build outs and how we were going to do protocols. And then to have that championship, have that kind of a finish and be so worldwide watched, where we were highlighting our PGA professionals as members, where we were talking about the good that PGA professionals do in their communities and our foundation. And it was just, everything just came together in a way that makes you really proud to wear our logo. And so I would say, you know, for me, that's for sure one of the proudest moments.
Fantastic. Well, Suzy, we realize how busy you are, and especially how busy things are at your club and your career and everything that's going on in your life. Thank you very, very much for taking the time to be on the webcast with us this morning for the Southern California Beach. Everybody to join us next week. Tom Sun, one of our newly elected board members for the section, who is chairing up the mentorship committee, the mentorship program, part and parcel to a lot of the things that Suzy touched on, having a sponsor, having a mentor, not going at it alone, either through your associateship or through your membership or through your personal or career growth, all you know, weighs heavily on how well we are surrounded by mentors and how well we reach out and how effectively those that we look up to can reach out to us and help support us. Tom Sun will be taking the lead on the mentorship program next week, so very important catalyst. Please join us next week. Suzy, on behalf of the Education Committee for the Southern California PGA, thank you very much for being with us this morning. Thank you, everybody, for being on the webcast. Stay safe, stay sane, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you, Suzy.
Stay safe, stay healthy. You bet.